Discussion on early retirement. Barb?
This is a copy of the last time that there, I believe it's the last time, that there was an early retirement policy for the district for licensed staff members. And if you take a look at that, if there is an age range on an early retirement plan, the plan can be funded by the management fund. So this plan under the first bullet said that employees that are between 55 and 65 years of age on or before a certain date, I should go back to the first paragraph. We would specify a number of hours per week that employees work to be considered eligible for this plan, and 30 hours is a common number to be used. So if a licensed person works at least 30 hours per week, which would be at least a 3/4 time employee, they're eligible for this plan. Between the ages of 55 and 65, the next blank that you could fill in, if this were a policy that had fill in the blank parts, completes at least, and you can determine how many years of service that person, that licensed or certificated employee, has to have in the district. Submits a written application to the superintendent for participation in the early retirement plan on or before, and we determine a particular date that we want. I think we've talked earlier that if we're going to do an early retirement plan or option, that we want that early enough so that if we need to turn right around and do reduction in force or RIFs, that we've got time to meet all of the master contract as well as the 279 contract agreement date, that they submit a written resignation to the superintendent on or before January 10th, and that the board then votes on approving that plan. In that next paragraph, approval by the board of the certificated employee's early retirement, voluntary resignation, participation in early retirement plan shall make the employee eligible for early retirement disbursement, and we put a date on there. It's pretty cut and dried. Some schools give as an option, rather than a lump sum of money, they give an option for insurance. Insurance is taxable income, and there's some strings that come attached to that. There's probably more schools that find it to be cleaner, and I think our attorney, I'm pretty certain our attorney would suggest that it's a lump sum payment. And if you take a look at the back side, it just says that the board has the option to decide if there's going to be early retirement or not.
This isn't the last one we've done.
This is 2000. There's been one.
Yeah. Yeah, when Mr. Jacobson and Mr. Stenson resigned, that was...
Was that about 2001 or 2002?
I think it wasn't that long ago.
It was after I was on
That was
board.
2005.
Okay, maybe the year before.
Yeah. And the reason why I remember that is because I think on the last one, I don't remember why there was a slot of age here, like the 55 to 65. I don't understand that. But and I think on our other one, they just had to be over the age. The last one we did. And it wasn't 13.5, I think it was 10 or 12.
It was 10.5, now that you say that, because I've seen one that said 10.5. Yeah.
But, you know, I understand this is the concept of it.
Sure,
and that's
sure.
what we're trying
And
to do.
again, the only important thing to understand about the age range is that we can fund it in the management fund versus out of general fund.
Does it have to be a range, though, or can it just be like over the age of 55?
No.
You gotta have a
be an
range.
age range.
Well, in 55 to 90.
It could be 55 to 90, I think.
Do we have any staff that are over 65 each? I mean, I
Yes.
don't know. Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know why you, in my opinion, I don't know why you'd eliminate.
You'd probably list the age of the
Oldest
person who would be
That
the
makes
oldest
sense.
employee at the end of that school
Right, and
year.
that makes sense to me.
So
I
if the
just
oldest
didn't-
person is going to be 67, we probably list 67. Probably not 90 though.
No. Well,
This is a 1 year thing.
It could be.
Could.
I can see why boards probably put an upper limit on age, because they may realize that the person who may be 70 years old is going to retire pretty soon anyway. Maybe. So that may be one thought. I don't know if that's why they put an upper limit.
I was just talking to a person that had 43 years of experience, and 43 years just last week. And then some. just add
If
that.
you remember, the reason we're talking about it is the belief that we have that coming around here, we're going to need to be looking at some staff reduction, and would we be interested in doing this as an option to see what happens with it? And we still might be looking at reduction in force. Wildlife Auburn, I had it on their board agenda. They would like to work along with SAC, and if SAC decides they're going to do a policy, they really believe the policy should look the same and it should be implemented at the same time.
Have they used one in the last 4 or 5 years down there?
It's probably been 4 years ago, I'd say. Probably 4 years ago. And the policy in language looks very similar to this. This is a standard form really from an attorney and from IDSB, which really keeps it legal. The last time Wildlife Auburn did it, it was a 12/5 one lump sum payment.
Well, I think the concept, I think it's time to look again at the early retirement incentive, but I do think that you are correct that if we decide to do that and Wallach View Auburn decides to do it, that I'd like to see one that is very similar.
Yeah, their comment was, we want one exactly the same if we can come to that agreement, because that would feel uncomfortable to have something that was very different.
So maybe the board president or someone can get together and talk about one or something.
Sure.
I'd say probably your biggest choice on this is what that amount of money is that you're talking about, because the 30 hours a week is pretty standard. Actually, the 55 to 65 is pretty standard, but we could make that could be different if you would want it to be. The number of years of service in the district can be what you want it to be, but 25 is pretty standard. Okay.
I think that's high.
Okay.
If you want them at that age, you want them, if your objective is to have them leave, if they only got 15 or 20, you're defeating your purpose.
One of the things I can do for you is, we have it done for this district, but we don't for Wallach View Auburn, which is your worry, I guess, but it's the ages and years of experience of employees, and I can give that to you at the next board meeting, so you can look at that, because you might find a spot in there where you say, no, you know what, it's 20 years or above, and Wallach View Auburn asked me to put that together for them, and I'm going to give it to them at their July board meeting.
Would you do that, please, for us?
Yep.
For my insurance for a single and for a family costs what at the present time for this district?
Close to what, $6,000 for single?
Is it
50
what per month?
or over
500 per month?
480. Yeah, it's over.
Isn't
it $500 a month per single?
Yeah, just about 500.
And probably,
So
what,
it's 6,000 a year.
15,000?
Between 15 and 16,000 for a family.
Wow.
But remember, if we offer insurance where we are actually paying like a monthly insurance payment, it's got some strings attached to it that we're talking about taxable income then.
And I'm not saying that we do that again, but I think that last time, that at least one, if not both of the teachers did that, I think, but I don't know for sure.
And I also think maybe that we had to go back and clean up some things on that after the fact that we just didn't know about at that time.
Well, you don't want to do it, don't do it. You know?
Yeah.
That's the way I
Well,
would-
the employee still has the option to buy insurance, and that's included in this. It says upon retirement, the certificated employee shall be eligible to continue participation in school district's group health and insurance plan. So they could take the lump sum, and then out of that lump sum, they could pay the school for their health insurance as well.
Is that forever? Or just for the year?
No, that's forever.
Really?
Actually, employees often do it to whatever their age is for Medicare, and then they buy their Medicare supplement.
I think the state law reads, you correct me if I'm wrong, if a person retires, the district has to retain them on the policy.
They have to have the option to buy.
Buy into it.
And I think it used to say 65, but for me, for instance, full retirement is right at 66. It's 65 years that